Hello and welcome back to St. Thomas Aquinas for Everyone. I'm Dave Palmer and we are learning the Summa one section at a time. We're talking about human nature. This is the fourth video on human nature. There's a couple more and then we're going to be moving on to the next topic, which is going to continue to be very interesting. We talked about the nature of the soul and the different parts of the soul, and also the intellect and the passive and the active intellect. I hope you enjoyed that. I think that's pretty cool. Now we're going to talk about a different part of the soul, and that has to do with sensitive appetites. And Thomas, in part 1 of the Summa, question number 81, article 2, says whether the sensitive appetite is divided into the irascible and the concupiscible as distinct powers. Now he's going to say yes, of course, these are distinct powers. When you hear the word appetite, you generally think about something that you want. You have an appetite for food or sleep or drink, right? And that's what he means by this, is appetites. Those things not only that we are drawn to, like, for example, this pizza. When I show this picture of this pizza, depending on your state of hunger, you probably have some desire for it, right? You'd like to have a slice or two of that pepperoni pizza. Okay, that's an appetite. That's a desire, and that's what he's talking about here. But he also, in speaking about these desires, talks about the things that are the opposite, the things that we are repulsed by, the things that if we saw them, we'd probably run away from them rather than towards them. And in most cases, people would see a grizzly bear and they'd run away from it, or a snake or a scorpion or something like that. So this all has to do with the concupiscible powers. And he also is going to make a distinction in another kind of sensitive appetite, and this is the irascible. And this means that you take a step back and it's something that's not there present with you at the moment, but let's say something you hope for, like graduating from high school, graduating from college, okay? That's what he's going to call an irascible appetite. And then the opposite is something we fear, whether it be snakes or scorpions or failing a test or just being a complete loser or what have you. Okay, we have fears and anxieties and that kind of stuff. These are what fall into the sensitive appetites, as Thomas is going to explain right here. He says the sensitive appetite is one generic power, and it is called sensuality. Okay, we are sensual beings, but it's divided into two powers, which are species of the sensitive appetite: the irascible and the concupiscible, as I just explained, one through which the soul is simply inclined to seek what is suitable, like our pizza, right? And to fly from what is hurtful. This is called the concupiscible. Okay, so keep these words in mind. The concupiscible are those things that we either flight or flight, right? We are drawn towards, or we are repulsed by. The pizza and the grizzly bear being the examples there, right? Okay, and another whereby an animal resists these attacks, and this is a little bit hard to explain, the irascible, that hinder what is suitable and inflict harm, and this is called the irascible. This is clear also from the fact that the irascible, as it were, is the champion and defender of the concupiscible when it rises up against what it hinders the acquisition of the suitable things which the concupiscible desires, and inflicts harm from which the concupiscible flies. Okay, so I've taught this many years to high school students, and I always find the irascible kind of hard to explain. But the easiest way that I can explain it is that it's something that's not present. Okay, if you are afraid of grizzly bears, but there's not one in front of you, that would be irascible. It's a fear, right? If you are hoping for graduation, but you're not at the ceremony graduating, that's irascible. That's a hope. Okay, again, the fear is irascible. If it's right there in front of you, like the pizza, or the grizzly bear, or the snake, or the scorpion, or the hot fudge sundae, that is concupiscible. Okay, that's the best way that I can explain it. All right, so Thomas goes on in Article 3 to say whether the irascible and the concupiscible appetites obey reason. All right, do they obey reason? The classic example that I like to use, particularly with the concupiscible, is, let's say you go to a Mexican restaurant, right? Imagine your favorite Mexican restaurant. You order the enchiladas, you got your drink, your margarita, your water, what have you, and all of a sudden the waiter brings these, all right? So reason will say, well, I got my meal coming, and I probably just have maybe 5 or 6 or 7 of these chips and salsa, and that'll be it. But our appetite kind of rebels against it, right? And the appetite says, keep eating, just keep going for it. That's an example of when the reason and the appetites are in conflict. Now here's another one, something that plays out at our house pretty often. Let's say you're in the kitchen, you look on the floor and you see a cockroach. Okay, now reason would say, I don't want this cockroach in my house, but it's there, maybe I got to get rid of it, but some people will go nuts and are screaming and yelling across the house, they got a cockroach in the house. Okay, that's a concupiscible passion that is a little out of whack. Okay, it needs to come under control, because that's something that you're flying from, but maybe you just need to calm down a little bit, right? All right, how about the irascible fears? Some people have really inordinate irascible fear of clowns. Okay, I'm probably traumatizing somebody by even showing this picture. Okay, a clown, if it's not there present with you, and again, lately in the culture, people have been kind of weirded out by clowns. They think they're creepy, but if you have this fear of a clown, that a clown's going to come into your bedroom at night or something, that's a little bit of an immoderate, maybe irrational, irascible appetite, right? Because in most cases there's not a whole lot to be worried about with the clown, right? All right, so that's what now in the classic example of whether the appetites obey reason is a charioteer. Imagine the charioteer, the chariot driver, is the intellect, the reins are the will, and the two horses are the concupiscible and the irascible appetites. Okay, in a perfect situation, the rational mind is in control of the appetites. But we know every now and then those horses get a mind of their own and they go nuts. Okay, so does he have complete control over them? That's the question. So Thomas goes on to say, in regard to this question, as the philosopher says, now that's Aristotle, we observe in the animal a despotic and a politic principle, for the soul dominates the body by a despotic power. That means that if my mind says hand move, legs move, head move, it just does it. Okay, you can't rebel. Whatever I ask my body to do, it's going to do it, for the most part, right? That's what he means by that. But the intellect dominates the appetites by a politic and royal power. For a power is called despotic, whereby a man rules his slaves, and who have not the right to resist in any way the order of the one who commands them, since they have nothing of their own. Okay, that's the soul and the body relationship. But that power is called politic and royal, by which a man rules over free subjects, and those subjects of the government of the ruler have nevertheless something of their own, by reason of which they can resist the orders of him who commands. All right, so we can eat those extra tortilla chips. We can freak out over cockroaches or be really, really scared of clowns, even though our mind is saying, that's not the way to do it, right? But we know that sometimes it's out of order, right? And that's actually a result of original sin. And so the soul is said to rule the body by a despotic power, because the members of the body cannot in any way resist the sway of the soul. But the intellect or reason is said to rule the irascible and the concupiscible by a politic power, because the sensitive appetite has something of its own, by virtue whereof it can resist the commands of reason, as I've just explained in a few different examples. All right, so that is it, and this was just a couple of articles of the Summa. Now we're past talking about the intellect. Now we're talking about the passions, the appetites of the soul, and next we're going to go into the will. What is the will, and how does that relate to all this as well? You can see when we talked about God, the first attribute is that he is simple, and we're complicated. We are pretty complicated beings, and God is simple because he doesn't have a body. He doesn't have passions. Okay, he has a will, but he doesn't have appetites in the sense that he wants an ice cream sundae or a piece of pizza, right? And he's not afraid of grizzly bears or cockroaches. All right, that does it. We'll talk about will next. This is St. Thomas Aquinas for everyone. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.